Try driving more than 1 kilometre on any major road in a city around Australia without seeing a Toyota Hiace. It's almost impossible. And because of the proliferation of that van on Australian roads, buyers of vans, people who need them, tend to forget that there are other options out there. This is one of them, the Mercedes-Benz Vito. Despite the popularity of the Hiace, despite how good it is, there are other alternatives if you want a different badge in your driveway. Let's take a closer look at the Mercedes-Benz Vito. Pricing for the Vito 116 long wheelbase starts from $56,100 before on-road costs. There's plenty of standard equipment, including a multi-function steering wheel, power windows, a chrome interior package, 12-volt socket, high-gloss black trim, 16-inch steel wheels with full-size spare, leather steering wheel, digital radio, and 4-way adjustable seats. Dual rear sliding cargo doors are both standard, along with a 25-litre AdBlue tank and a full suite of adaptive safety technology. The Vito is covered by a 5-year, 250,000 kilometre warranty and 24-hour roadside assistance. Service intervals are every 12 months or 25,000 kilometres. Our tester has the following options: colour-coded front and rear bumpers, satellite navigation, Distronic active distance assist, a cargo solutions pack which includes interior panelling, full width partition, wood flooring, sidewall tie-down rails and LED strip lighting. There's also a lumbar support package for the driver's seat and metallic paint. That takes the as-tested price to $64,815 before on-road costs. Time to take a look at the cabin of the Mercedes-Benz Vito. And there's a few things in here to talk about. First of all, let's take a look at the partition. We talk about that a lot. You'll hear us say with van reviews all the time that if that isn't standard, tick the options box. Couple of reasons why. You can hear in the audio, even in me speaking to the camera now, it is so much more muted in here. If that was open, it'd be echoey and it'd be drummy. And when you're spending a lot of time in a vehicle, day after day, it makes a huge difference to just quieten the cabin down and make it a much more pleasant place to be. 2, it's actually pretty cold this morning, and it took so much less time to warm this cabin up because there's a partition there than it would have if it was a huge, big open space. So that's another factor as well. In terms of storage, I think the Vito is pretty good. It could be a little bit better. Some of the storage doesn't make a lot of sense. Like these pockets up here, I'm not sure what you're going to use these ones for. One in the middle of the dash is good. The cup holders up here are tiny. They're really only going to be for an espresso cup rather than a bigger coffee cup, so they don't work too well for that. But then there's other storage lower down and in the door pockets, big glove box. That makes a lot of sense. This infotainment system is actually really, really good. It's easy to use, it's a really clear screen, and sure, it could be better, but the rear view camera is amazing. Even at night, it's incredibly clear and works really well. You've got 2 USB ports there for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They both work well also. Steering wheel controls are excellent, easy to understand. If you're familiar with Mercedes-Benz product, this all makes sense. And one last point to make is the gear selector over here. Now, we often say in a road car, so if you're thinking about an A-Class or a C-Class, this can get a bit counterintuitive. You have to get used to it, you have to understand it. But in a van like this, the fact that the shifter's there and it's moved out of here and you've got all this open space and storage through here actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. It just makes it more practical, gives you a bit more flexibility inside the cabin. Now, you'll hear us say finally with vans that the only problem a lot of these vans have is the Toyota Hiace. It really has moved the van segment forward a hell of a long way. However, the Mercedes-Benz Vito is a pretty good van still, does most things pretty well, and here inside the cabin for delivery drivers, for couriers, you guys spend a hell of a lot of time sitting right here running around town. It's a pretty good place to be. The 2 sliding doors are, as mentioned earlier, standard, but the smartest piece of engineering comes at the rear, where the barn doors open to a broad 270 degrees and have a clever magnet system to ensure they stay open safely and don't get caught by the breeze. Cargo capacity is a useful 6.6 cubic metres. The rear door aperture is 1,391 millimetres and the floor-to-ceiling height is 1,261 millimetres. The Vito's space is 3,061 millimetres long and 1,270 millimetres wide between the wheel arches, opening out to 1,685mm behind the front seats. Pretty versatile space this, the Mercedes-Benz Vito. A couple of things to note. I really like this board they've put on the floor. Not a lot of vans have that. It looks really solid, sturdy, looks to be waterproof. However, it is pretty slippery. So what we've done is we've run our rubber mat in here. We've got a couple of these. We use them in utes and vans, obviously as a protective measure so we don't scratch this, but it's also non-slip so you can load stuff, and I'd take that into account. I would assume that if you're buying a van and it doesn't have a rubber mat on the floor, you're going to need to do that because it will make it a hell of a lot more versatile. I like the fact that there's storage space under the seats there. That's clever because you can get longer stuff in there. Makes a lot of sense. This tie-down system in here I think is one of the better options in any van. So you've got the conventional ones in the floor here. They're hinged so that they go down and stay out of the way. But this adjustable one, you're not going to be able to strap something super heavy like a big motorcycle in on these. You'd want to use those ones there. However, these are great if you've got crates, boxes, smaller things that you just need to strap them over and keep them secure and keep them from moving around. This is a really good system, and I think it's one of the better options in any of the vans that we've tested. It's also up there in the wall as well. You could argue that the plywood lining looks a little bit sort of half done, I guess. However, Lucas, who's behind the camera, hi Lucas, he suggested that the reason they did that is because if you covered it with vinyl or something that looked attractive, it'd get dented and damaged. So that probably is a smart measure in that sense, even though it doesn't look entirely finished. The one other thing I'd say is the lighting could be a little better. It works, it's okay, but it could be a little brighter. So especially at night when you're loading and unloading, there's a strip across the back there which is pretty good, and light up on the side, but I'd like a little bit more light in here. Aside from that, given the physical dimensions of this van outside, that it's not massive, it's actually pretty big in here and pretty useful. The 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine makes 120 kilowatts and 380 newton metres and drives through a 7-speed automatic to the rear wheels. Combined fuel use is 6.7 litres per 100 kilometres on the ADR claim, and running around town for the week of testing, we used an indicated 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres. Here are some more detailed specification claims from the manufacturer. Pause the video here if you want to take a closer look at the numbers. First thing that needs to be said about the Mercedes-Benz Vito is that there is real value in the prestige of the badge. You know, you drive around town, you see a lot of Japanese vans, you see now South Korean vans, but there is prestige in having a German badge on the front of your van. If you've got, for example, a mobile detailing business for expensive European cars, there'd be real value in having this van as your work vehicle. So I think that's a point that needs to be made. After that, the next thing that you really do notice when you're driving this around is that it's pretty competent. We've tested these with 400 to 600 kilos of weight in the back tray there, and they really do handle that well, but they're not awful without weight in them. We're driving around now effectively unladen, doesn't bang and crash and make all weird drummy noises, and it's not uncomfortable. So it's actually pretty competent when you're driving around without weight in the tray. You do know that it's a diesel. You can hear a bit of diesel clatter, but it's not awful and it's not intrusive. There's not a lot of wind or road noise that enters the cabin. And the point I made when we were static before and not on the move about the petition behind me is that it does make a difference, and you really do notice that out on the road when you're on the move. I think the fact that this has got a real tight turning circle helps around town as well. Steering feels good, seating position's good, visibility forward is really good. The window in the petition and then the window at the back makes a big difference as well. As you've heard me say with vans before, I probably would prefer a window on the side because that gives you good quarter visibility, but the visibility through the back and that excellent rear view camera makes a huge difference. So all in all, if you spend a lot of time driving these vans around, and look, that's what the buyer does, and that's been overlooked for so many years by the manufacturer, but the buyer of these vans spends a lot of time in it, and if you do that, the Vito's a pretty good place to be. The Vito gets a full 5-star ANCAP safety rating, and standard equipment includes blind spot assist, lane keep assist, rear view camera with dynamic steering lines, active parking assist, front and rear sensors, headlight assist, adaptive brake lights, seatbelt warning for driver and passenger, and cruise control with Speedtronic variable speed limiter. Don't forget to click on like if you've enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe so you stay up to date with the CarAdvice Drive YouTube channel. And as always, the full review of the Vito and all the other vehicles that we test are on our websites. Now, I said elsewhere in this video that the problem for a lot of these vans is the Toyota Hiace. And I said that with good reason, because it really has moved the van sector forward a long way in a technological and a safety sense. And it's for that reason that it is our pick for Drive Car of the Year. So it's a very, very good van. However, there are still other options. That's why we took a look at the Vito in the first place. And to be honest with you, the Vito is a particularly good van to drive. I think it's got a really good cabin compartment. It's comfortable. It's pretty refined compared to some of the competition, and it's very, very useful in the back. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Are you in the market for a new van? And if so, which one would you buy?